Shalom. Before I begin this video, first and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rachach Kodash, and all double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that continually rule very well to this very day, as I continually feed and flock through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, and also Shalom to the whole elect that is also planning its work and giving diligence to make your calling and election sure in faith, true and sincerity, and also in all charity. Now, the topic of this video is going to be entitled, "This shall be with burning and fuel of fire," in which, if you go into the scriptures, it speaks about how different wars were fought with swords, shields, bucklers. So back in the ancient world, you had the wars that were fought in that manner. But the Bible speaks about a war to be fought with burning and fuel of fire. All right, which that's something that has never been thought of back in the ancient world, And when the scriptures speak about it being by burning and fuel of fire, it's talking about the wars that you see now in this time, especially the up and coming war that we're coming into right now, which is World War III. That's what the scriptures mean by this war is going to be fought by burning and fuel of fire, and that's what you see right now, because all the war tactics that you see right now at this time is by a distance. It's not well, you do have troops on the ground, the footmen. But guess what? When times get rough out in the battlefield, and you're stuck in a pinch, what they do? They call for backup. They call for airstrike. So, in this case, that's why you're seeing the majority of the wars being fought is by way of burning and fuel of fire, man. Which, that goes into everything, man. These Edomites, which Edom is the true biblical nationality of the so-called white man. Edom has developed this technology concerning warfare, and it just continually advances day in and day out. Because these Edomites were given the blessing of the sword. All right, that blessing was given to them by our forefather Isaac when he blessed him with the sword. So guess what? Since Esau, his blessing is the sword, therefore Esau is going to perfect that, man. All right, the category of the sword, or the vibration of that particular sword, in which the sword, is used for violence, is used for warfare. So with that being said, these Edomites, they have advanced so much with the sword, the modern day sword, which is the modern day rifles, the guns, the missiles. So they perfected this sword so much to where now even one of the banking families, all right, well, one of the higher ups by the name of Brzezinski. I don't remember his first name, but his last name is Brzezinski. He made a statement that it was harder to kill than to control. It was harder to kill, and it was easier to control back in the day. Back when you didn't have, too much of thermonuclear capabilities that these other nations had. And also other outlets of war, other outlets of the these rifles and military gear. But he made another statement on top of that saying now is easy to kill than to control. And that's true. Now it's much easier with the technology that you have now. It's much easier to kill somebody than to control them, man. And that's the point that it's going to come into, man. You know, it's going to come to the point to where these higher-ups of Edom are going to just shut down everything and at the expense of these people's lives. You know, they're going to enforce their New World Order agenda. And which the way they're going to do that is by way of the mark of the beast. All right. So it's going to be an ultimatum in that day. It's whether you take the mark, take the RFID microchip, which is the mark of the beast, or get sentenced to death. You know. And that's going to be an actual thing in those days, man. All right. You know, Esau's not going to be playing around anymore because they only have such a short time to operate with, pursuant to Revelations, the 12th chapter and the 12th verse. All right. So it's going to come down with great wrath because he had but a short time. So with that being said, I want to go ahead and jump into the precepts here and just to expound upon this topic. So it's the book of Isaiah, the 9th chapter, and I'm going to start at the 5th verse. It says, "For every battle of the warrior is with confused noise and garments rolled in blood." Right. So back in the ancient world, you had different warfares that were fought with swords. Modern. Basically the swords with the blade, a sharpened blade, and garments rolled in blood. Man, blood sprayed everywhere. But now, guess what? You don't have to do that anymore. Now you can just have a pistol and just walk up and just shoot somebody, man. All right, see, now it says, "But this shall be with burning and fuel of fire." And the brother in my camp always bring this out, man. This is one of his favorite analogies. He mentions that, what is the word fuel doing in the Old Testament? And that's true. What is the word fuel doing in the Old Testament? What is the word fuel doing in the Old Testament when that's something that's compared to today? Because fuel for today is something that's able to enlighten or to feed fire. All right. So when the scripture is speaking about this war shall be fought with burning and fuel of fire, it's talking about the current wars that you see going on right now. All right. Which are really, those are proxy wars, man. All right. But other than that, this is the way that the Lord has chosen for this current kingdom to go down. Because when World War III commences, that spells the end of the kingdom of Edom. That spells the end for America, because during the time of World War III, America's not going to have the same allies as it did back during World War I and World War II. All right? Those allies are not going to be in assistance with America anymore. And slowly but surely, you're starting to see that, man, because they're really, this clown, DJ Trump, is making sure that America is basically separated from these different nations. It's separated from the rest of, first and foremost, the NATO nations and also the EU. Slowly but surely, man, we're starting to see that. Okay? So as time passes, you're going to see more and more of a separation between America and NATO and the EU. All right? And once again, the Lord is setting it up by way of prophecy. All right? So I'm going to grab the next precept here if I can, Salakia. Have to switch hands here. Yeah, you have to forgive me. I'm in transit right now. So just bear me for one moment while I get acclimated here on the road and try to switch to the next precept here. Okay, now I got it. right. All right, it's the book of Isaiah, the 66th chapter and the 16th verse. And actually, let me start at the 15th verse. Like it says, "For behold, the Lord Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury and his rebuke with flames of fire." All right, this is when our Lord returns, man. The Lord's going to return in a glorious fashion. You know, he's not going to come back the same way that he did before, back in the ancient world when you had the Romans that were ruling over us. You know, he's not going to come back as just a common man. He's going to come back as an angelic force. All right. And at verse 16 it says, "For by fire and by his sword will the Lord Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua plead with all flesh, and the slain of the Lord shall be many." See? So once again, like I mentioned before, this is the platform, or this is the method that Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua is going to use to completely decimate America, to destroy this current kingdom. All right. So once again, it said, "For by fire and by his sword will the Lord plead with all flesh." And that's not only here in America, or not only here in Babylon. You're going to have other parts of the world is going to be touched by this thermonuclear destruction, man. All right. Now I want to grab another precept on top of that, Jeremiah, the 49th chapter. And I'm going to start at the 7th verse, and I want to make a quick point here because the Lord made sure that Edom perfected that sword to the point to where they'll destroy themselves, man. All right. You know, the Lord's making sure that Edom perfects that sword, all right, perfect their thermonuclear capabilities, make sure to have it to where it's impossible to have any sort of errors with that technology. And then once it's perfected and it's completed, then guess what? The Lord is going to allow Esau to destroy himself with that same technology that he developed just to initiate his New World Order agenda. All right. So again, it says, actually, Slakia, it says, verse 7, it says, "Concerning Edom, thus said the Lord, the Lord of hosts, is wisdom no more in Teman?" In which Teman, if you trace the line of Teman to today, they would be considered the so-called Germans, because the so-called Germans' technology was way more advanced than the technology that was made here in America, and that's fact. All right, and that even includes the thermonuclear capabilities. All right. Case in point, also as well, I'd like to add into this same topic is the atomic bomb. All right. So with the technology of the atomic bomb, you know, nobody wanted to mess with America during that time. All right. When that was developed. So therefore, with that being said, that's why now the thermonuclear capabilities that you see now is to the point to where it can just be shot off at any point and just completely destroy an entire city, you know, and that's just with one thermonuclear missile. All right. Now the Lord has a certain number reserved for those particular missiles to be shot off. And let's see if I can grab that here for a second. It's like this is the book of Revelations, the 9th chapter, and I'm gonna start at the let's see, it's like it. Start at the 13th verse. It says, "And the sixth angel sounded, and I heard a voice from the four horns of the golden altar which is before the Most High, saying to the sixth angel, which had the trumpet, loose the four angels which are bound in the great river Euphrates. That's right. If you go to Revelation, the 7th chapter, right, it speaks about those four angels holding the four winds of the earth. All right. And in that chapter, you know, it was told to the angels to not to hurt the earth and the sea until the servants of the Lord, which is the elect, the 144,000, is sealed. All right. In that same chapter, it tells you how many is within the elect is 144,000 members. All right. So now in this chapter here, Revelation, the 9th chapter, it tells you that where it says the sixth angel which had the trumpet to loose the four angels which are bound in the great river Euphrates. Right. It says, and the four angels were loosed. This is verse 15. It says, and the four angels were loosed, which were prepared for an hour and a day and a month and a year, for to slay the third part of men. And the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000. And I heard the number of them right. So the scripture tells you there's 200,000, which you can do the math. You can put in your calculator, 200,000 and find out how many that is. But when it goes into the horsemen, really that's going to the thermonuclear missiles. All right, because if you go, I believe you go throughout this chapter, and there's another chapter that speaks about the lightness of the missiles, where it tells you that it has a breastplate of iron. Actually, Slakia, if I keep reading in the same chapter, it explains further, right? It says at verse 17, it says, and thus I saw the horses in the vision, and them that sat on them, having breastplates of fire and of jacinth and brimstone in the heads of lions, and out of their mouths issue fire and smoke and brimstone, right? So it's when it speaks about the breastplate, it's a breastplate of fire, of jacinth and brimstone in the heads of the horses, whereas the heads of lion, and out of their mouths issue fire, smoke, and brimstone, right? And so this is going into the description of the missiles, all right? So when you go into the mouth of the missile, right? The mouth of the missile is the nuclear warhead. All right. So, and that's where the damage comes from. It comes from that nuclear warhead. Just the body of the missile is what projects and propels that missile to its destination. All right. Really, that force comes within the mouth. All right. Actually, it's another precept that explains that. See if I can grab it real quick. Slakia. Slakia, bear with me for 1 second. All right. Actually, if I keep reading this further on down, it says, out of the mouths issue fire and brimstone. Verse 18, it says, by these three was the third part of men killed. And right, that third part of men is talking about the wicked. All right, because there's three classifications of men if you read throughout the Bible. It's the sons of man, it's the sons of the Most High, and there's the sons of the wicked. All right. So the third part of men is talking about the wicked. Right. So the wicked is going to be slain by these things. Right. And it says, it's like it. It says, by these three was the third part of men killed, by the fire and by the smoke and by the brimstone which issued out of their mouths. See? So out of those thermonuclear warheads is being shot off from the body of the missile. That's where the death and destruction is going to come from. All right. It says, by these three That's like I'm reading it again. Verse 19 says, for their power is in their mouth, see? And in their tails, right? Because like I mentioned before, the tail of that missile is what propels them and takes them to their destination, right? So for their powers in their mouth, which is the thermonuclear warhead, and in their tails, which projects those missiles, for those tails were like unto serpents and had heads, and with them they do hurt. All right. Right, because when you see a thermonuclear missile being shot off, it leaves a trail. All right, and that's what John the Revelator was seeing on the Isle of Patmos. Now, mind you, they only had a limited vocabulary back in those days. All right, there was no such thing as a thermonuclear missile or, being said back in the ancient world. They weren't saying those types of words, or, that type of technology wasn't there during that time, the reason why I read Isaiah, where it says wars back then were fought with swords and garments rolled in blood. But this war is going to be fought by burning and fuel of fire. And that's why you see the description that you see right now being compared to the mouth of the thermonuclear missile being compared to the mouth of a lion and the tail as a serpent. Because that's the only vocabulary that they had. Okay? That's like it. Go all the way down. It says, verse 20, it says, and the rest of the men which were not killed by these plagues, yet repented not of the works of their hands, that they should not worship devils and idols of gold and silver and brass and stone and of wood, which neither can see nor hear nor walk, neither repented they of their murders, nor of their sorceries, nor of their fornication, nor of their thefts. Right, because it's going to be a time where those elites, the higher ups of Esau, they already have places prepared to try to escape this thermonuclear destruction. But they don't know they walk into a trap. All right, in which I'll leave that for another topic for another video. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and end off this video here. And our Lord's will is edifying to the body of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, to the members of the Holy Elect. Until next time, once again, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Ruach HaKodesh. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that continually rule very well to this very day. Shalom. Peace and safety. Salutations to the Holy Elect that's continually laboring his work, giving diligence to make your calling and election sure, in faith, true and sincerity, and also in all charity. And with that, it goes to Shalom.